Hi everyone and welcome to another Pick a Card reading. This reading is brought to you by 1millionnights.com. We have a special promotion right now. Log in, create a client account, and you get 5% bonus on all our prepaid packages, so feel free to check it out. Today's reading has a special subject. I decided to do something a little bit different because up until this present moment, all of our readings, channelings, spiritual guidance, and of course pick a card readings were empowered, so to speak, or draw upon the wisdom of the higher self, which naturally it is our bridge, so to speak, between the human self and the infinite divine intelligence. It is our spark of divinity, which we kind of possess even in human form, even in flesh, even incarnated here in the dense world of matter. So naturally it kind of makes perfect sense that us and so very many other spiritual guides, counselors, readers, etc. all throughout the world usually channel the higher self, because that is where the infinite divine intelligence connects with us, speaks to us, or basically sends us messages and guidance. But of course the higher self doesn't actually always possess the earthly wisdom, the down-to-earth wisdom know-how that all of us basically need to navigate through this physical, material, earthly existence. But there is another part of our beings which actually possesses a lot of earthly wisdom, which can connect to the more low density vibrations and energies present in nature and in physical reality, and that is no other than our shadow selves. In spirituality, the shadow self is not always viewed with very positive and tolerant and accepting eyes, because sometimes when that part of our being is way too triggered, it is way too imbalanced, angry, or stirred up by, anything. It really depends on our own personal situations. Well, its excessive energies can actually make our lives very, very complicated. It can simply defeat us, bully us, dominate us, turn us into a person who we really don't want to become. But none of that is basically the desire or the role of the shadow. The role of the shadow basically is to protect us, to help us, guide us, and empower us to survive, to exist in the world of matter. So it is only imbalanced, it is only aggressive, and serves our disadvantage basically if we don't know how to take it, if we don't possess enough psychological experience and self-knowledge in order basically to know how our shadows work, what their role are, and of course what triggers it, what makes it manifest in an excessive way. So wisdom, self-knowledge, self-reflection, contemplation, basically developing a very strong and healthy relationship with the self is always enough to balance every side of our beings, and that is when our shadows work in our greatest advantage, similarly to the higher self. So the shadow and the higher selves are not really opposites of each other, they're not at war with each other, they don't have any conflictual relationship at all, they need to serve the same being as in us. So in this message, I actually decided to channel our shadows and let's see what messages, guidance, advice they have for us. Because some people need this much more than the higher self, because, the higher self is idealistic, it is divine, it has no real earthly cares, and it basically always voices the highest philosophies, the greater divine truth, which is absolutely wonderful and fantastic, but it cannot always be applied here down on earth. So many times the messages that we get from our higher selves may be beautiful, inspirational, loving, kind, but they might not really mean anything, because if they cannot be applied in our own personal, physical, earthly lives, well then for most people that is just empty words from the divine. The shadow, however, well, it can actually expose very painful truth, because the shadow doesn't possess the gentleness. It needs us to confront with whatever is challenging or threatening our beings, may that be an internal force or an external force, a person or etc. So for like every other pick a card reading, take a couple of seconds or as much time as you need and look at the 3 piles of cards, and then choose one which sparks up your intuitive senses the most, and then just jump straight to the interpretation of the pile chosen by you. For those of you who were attracted by the first pile, your cards are the World, the Mother of Pentacles, which is the Queen of Pentacles in the classic tarot, and the Ace of Swords reversed. Now the presence of these cards, first of all, speaks about that you might be a person who has done a lot of inner work all throughout their lives, but mostly in the rather recent past, a year ago, maybe this inner balancing work started a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that. So it is an ongoing process, and you have done so much, especially regarding your inner psychological configuration. It's much more than finding a balance. It is basically finding true self-empowerment. So that naturally means that your shadow self and everything that angered it, triggered it, made it work against you, has of course already been balanced out, healed. So basically your shadow self is in a very healthy and balanced and rather peaceful position. It is working just like every other part of your being in your favor, in your greatest good. And this is exactly why the very first card that opened your reading was the World card, because you have been working all this time, regardless if you expressly knew this or just suspected, or even if you just went with the flow, you were working towards a very powerful, very significant karmic completion that you imperatively need in your life. This isn't as much about, starting a new life and closing all chapters to the past, because from a psychological and even karmic perspective, the past is already truly the past. Memories have been purified, they have been purged, bad unconscious patterns, those which were limiting you, have already been identified and more or less removed. But the problem is, despite all this work, all this effort, all this learning and self-mastery, well, your life doesn't reflect the physical manifestation of this very profound inner work that you have done. Basically, your life, it's not that it didn't change, it is still very much frozen. It's almost like not really having a life outside your being, outside yourself. It is almost like most of your life, even the material human experience, is lived on the inside. So basically, that kind of feels as if you really don't have a life, or all of your life, especially your human life, is basically just a make-believe, a pretend, a mask that you wear, and not because you want to deceive anyone, but basically because you're that much stuck. This is where your shadow self tries to deliver a very powerful message to you, and that is simply that all of your work did matter a lot. But through this inner work, maybe you adopted certain spiritual philosophies or different approaches, takes, theories in a certain branch of psychology which kind of diminished your self-worth. So this new life, or better said, the life that you desire to experience, your freedom, just being able to be yourself each and every millisecond of your life, because that is the essence of all of it. That is what the Mother of Pentacles speaks about, for your life to be a reflection, a valid and true reflection of your soul, who you are on the inside. This is the big goal. But for this to actually become reality, well, you need to work on that Ace of Swords reversed, which is your mind. For certain reasons, your mind simply doesn't believe, because of course it's not rational, not logical, not intellectually palpable to it, that you can have the life of your dreams. So your mind actually doubts your intentions, your mind doubts your desires, because it doesn't make sense to it. But you have done such a strong and relevant inner work that your mind is in minority, so to speak. Your destiny, your life, whatever you have done until this present moment, no longer depends on your mind. So all you need to do in order to invite all the karmic forces to manifest, for that world card to finally be able to offer you that big breakthrough that you need, regardless of what that means for you personally. But whatever it means, it also has to be something very material, because that Mother of Pentacles is there. So that can be either a job, a career, any kind of source of income, maybe a house, maybe simply just a financial independence that you truly deserve. But this has to be extremely easy. This has to be almost like a free divine gift, where you don't even have to put any effort in it, and not because this is greed or you want everything easy, but because you suffered so much for this and you have done a lot of work towards this. And it really makes sense karmically, because your soul path, your life purpose, the reason for this existence cannot be completed unless you actually have the life that you desire. Because you don't desire that kind of life out of greed or anything else, because you know that only that can allow you to fulfill your karmic purpose, the mission of your soul. So you need to be independent, and materially you need to have a kind of easy life, because there is so much you have to do with your mind, with your emotions. Maybe you need to write a book that Ace of Swords reverse can represent, that you have to share your wisdom, your expertise with other people, or you have to do something for you personally, which is simply not part of society. It is not meant for the rest of the world. Maybe it is just meant for you. And all of this is a reality. It can become real as soon as your mind stops doubting, as soon as your mind stops working against you, because it will rationalize everything. How will the resources, for example, come to you? Or how will the big karmic connections enter reality? There is a lot of questions that your mind keeps asking, and even though it is rational basically, yet right now it is towards your disadvantage. And the only way you can stop your mind is to increase your sense of self-worth, and to believe that all of this life that you desire is actually meant for you. It has always been written in the stars, just that you had to become ready. And now that you are ready, just believe it with every fiber of your being, and then your mind will actually mimic your attitude and start believing, stop doubting, and stop trying to rationalize the whole process, to know how it's gonna happen, to make the calculations, to set the dates, etc. You need none of that. You just need to tap into your true strength of belief, and your mind will mimic, and then you have the support of every single part of your being. And the next step, there is no way the karmic completion not to manifest in your life. So your shadow is telling you that right now piety and living without any kind of ego, or just burying all of your survival instincts so that they cannot come to the surface and influence you in any way, shape or form, well, that is what's defeating you right now. You need to pump belief, pump sheer spiritual and psychological power, energy, strength inside of you, and just believe what you truly want to accomplish into existence. You're so very close to breakthrough. Don't let your mind and certain spiritual principles or psychological methodologies which don't really resonate with you, not anymore. Well, you have to banish everything from you and just believe that your life is coming, and it is coming. For those of you who have chosen the second pile, your cards are the Devil reversed, the Wheel of Fortune reversed, and the High Priestess. Now these cards are telling you that you are an incredibly intelligent, sharp, smart person, not just purely intellectually, but spiritually and emotionally, and from every possible sense. You're a very, very bright person, and the very strong light of your mind is capable of so very many things, especially when you try and use all the energy and basically infinite intelligence that lies in your unconscious mind. So you might have been someone who experimented with this, who researched this, who might have read a lot of, books or publications or articles about how the unconscious mind works and what a great influence it is in our lives. So basically, you kind of possess a lot of power without even knowing what a great power you possess. Now, naturally, you're a very bright person, so you know that you already unlocked a really strong, almost quantum force in your life. You know that you can do so very many things with this information, with your studies, with your research, but more importantly, with your practice, because you also practiced it, you also used it in a very practical manner, so you also possess experience, mastery in all of this. But your shadow self is telling you that you're kind of limiting yourself, that Wheel of Fortune reversed. So basically, you're only manifesting very minor, perhaps according to the shadow, of course, insignificant things in your life, when you could dream really, really big, and you already possess enough experience and expertise to reach the highs. So your shadow is telling you, perhaps you shouldn't really limit yourself, you shouldn't really accept your present condition and the life that you are living in the present moment. Not that there's anything wrong with it, not that it's not the right path for you, neither that it's gonna lead you astray. No, absolutely nothing. You are already on the right path. Everything, at least from a spiritual perspective, is as it should be. And from a material or, the perspective of external reality, if there are a lot of problems right now, well, that is due to the global situation, the Wheel of Fortune reversed, Jupiter retrograde in Capricorn. So all of us are living very turbulent and troublesome times with a lot of blockages. So don't take anything that is limiting in your life personally. It is just the way it is for you and almost everyone else. So this isn't the big problem, because this is definitely gonna change as Jupiter exits the sign of Capricorn, as in 21st of December 2020. But if you ambition yourself, if you truly look at yourself from a much more open perspective and see all the greatness that you can possibly achieve, especially in the world of the future that all of us are stepping into collectively, well, only the sky is the limit, because the future is actually designed for people who embody your archetype, the genius, the visionary, the deep thinker, the highest philosophies, someone who can solve any problem and think of any solution with their sheer intelligence, with the light of their minds. So all your shadow is telling you, dream much bigger, because you're only this limited in these present moment circumstances when nothing really depends on us, but this will end. The times are definitely going to be changing soon, so dare to dream bigger, dare to attract a version of this life that you're living in the present moment, which is way more infinite, which is way more boundless. The universe is basically filled with infinite prosperity. Maybe look at this purely materially, as in the cosmos is full of hydrogen gas, the fuel of stars, so it is full of prosperity. Nature, our earth, is full of life, it is full of nourishment, nutrients, everything that we need. So basically, physical reality was created to be abundant and prosperous. So dream big and attract all that you can possibly carry, all that you can possibly absorb. So yes, on one hand, this may sound a little bit greedy, because it is more than you would need, more than you would require. But if you change your perspective, if you change the way you look at your life, well then the needs also change and evolve. Because if you want a greater version of this present life that you're living, of this existence, well then your needs also change, and you will need much, much more to allow yourself to rise up to your maximum potential. Because right now, not only that you're not using 100%, you're not even willing to use even 50%. And when your will changes, when you start to want and desire more, how should I even say this, more action, a much more dynamic life, where truly the sky is the limit of what you can accomplish with your intellect, well then everything changes. And the reason why this isn't selfish, why this isn't wrong, well, when we are born with such a great potential, isn't it truly our duty to do everything in our power that we can to basically tap into that potential and use it as much as the universe allows us to? And if the universe allows, then that means it isn't anything wrong. You're just enacting your role, your destiny. And instead of basically absorbing the experience equal to a lifetime, you can absorb the experience equal to more lifetimes all in one. So what a great opportunity this is, and an opportunity that basically this wasn't available in any other age in humankind's history because of the conditions that we have. But right now in the modern era, this is actually possible, and you are a perfect candidate who can truly tap into this and use it in a very practical way to basically grow as a soul and as a spirit. For those of you who have chosen the third pile, your cards are the Ace of Cups reversed, the Magician, and the Seven of Coins reversed. Now these cards might be telling two different stories for two different kind of people, so I'm going to split this into two. So the first category, this for you guys, the Ace of Cups reversed, represents your biggest dream, as in to have the relationship that you always desired in your life, and of course to live it, to experience it, to enjoy it. This was always something that you truly desired to experience in your life ever since you were little. But the problem is, this area of your life, as in your partnerships, your relationship, romance, love, etc., was always in total chaos, because either you have attracted diverse kind of people, or you attracted someone and it started working, but it always turned into something really toxic, as in the Ace of Cups. Or you might not have been able to attract anyone or anything ever who was at least half compatible to you. So this isn't a very good situation, and you might be really, really upset. You might really think what you're doing wrong. Why are you in this situation? And it's not like you blame yourself, because you know that there's nothing actually wrong with you. If anything, everything is right with you. But you know, when you are a very balanced, disciplined, intelligent, well-educated person, well, then the rest of the world might not see it with very good eyes, because, you know, they always appear in a position of inferiority, because you chose to work for this. You chose to invest a lot of energy in your education, in your developing a stable, balanced, good intended personality. So you're really, really okay with who you are and what you have done in your life. But the problem is, you can't find a person like you. And you might be asking, why is this going on for such a long time? This is a bit almost impossible. Because, you know, other people were in similar impossible, karmically impossible, of course, conditions. And, you know, when fate triggered, it just, everything came together. And you might be wondering, why isn't this happening in your situation as well? Because basically you are not any different to all those people for who the impossible actually happened. And this is where your shadow self is telling you that you truly need to change your attitude, how you approach psychologically, internally, a new relationship. Well, the Seven of Coins reversed speaks about, well, this is where you want to give everything to your future partner. You made yourself be almost like an ideal candidate for everyone who is even potentially compatible to you. So this means that you're a very, very gentle and loving person, and you absolutely adore that aspect of yourself. You developed a lot of support skills where you help other people, encourage, inspire, listen to them, help them solve their problems on a daily basis. This might be even your job, but you weren't guided to this coincidentally. It is basically the skills you need to even support a partner in your life, not just, you know, other people. You also have a really pleasant, a really aesthetic physical body, which you take care of course not in a narcissistic and excessive way. But you know, if Mother Nature gave you a very pleasant physical body, of course it is your duty to take care of it and preserve the gifts of Mother Nature, so it is absolutely normal. But you know, this is basically your inner instinctual strategy to attract that mate into your life. And when I say instinctual strategy, I mean that it doesn't even have to be in your awareness that this is what you're doing. It is just your instinct. It is just what you do naturally without thinking about it, without even knowing it. But it is exactly this that needs to change, because now you have to attract. Yes, of course you can attract by offering, and this is what you're doing, but you can also attract by centering all of your attention and on your focus on your needs, what you would like in your life. So for you, it's rather simple. Use that magician, and the magician is a symbol of your mastery, inner mastery, psychological mastery, working with yourself. So use all of this to turn that 7 of coins into upright position, as in showing the universe, and of course from an energetic perspective, so this is only energy, to your potential future mate or anyone who might be interested in you, that you're ready to harvest, that you're ready to receive, that you love yourself, that you are fully aligned with your self-worth, you know what kind of person you deserve, and of course you're only willing to allow a person into your life, basically, who can truly make you happy and make you feel like a truly loved and valued person. So, in other words, what you need to do is not offer everything, that makes you valuable, special, all of your skills, talents, your support, your love, your devotion, your loyalty. So don't offer this freely, but better said, start receiving, start attracting the same things that you would want to offer to your partner into your life. And when someone else offers these to you, then naturally you open the safe of your heart, of course, and offer it in return. Of course, there's nothing wrong with your approach, because the universe works in dual ways. So sometimes it is exactly offering, which is the right tactics, which is the right way of doing it. But when it simply doesn't work, that means that the world is simply not in the kind of vibe where it can accept what you offer, and then what remains is to change and switch the tactics and do the opposite, and maybe that is going to work. Maybe you are going to your need, your big dream, your desire, it can attract what you want and need in your life. Now, for other people, for the second category, this isn't necessarily about a relationship with a human being, but it is the relationship with the divine. The Ace of Cups is in reverse position because something inside of you, maybe it is actually your soul, that is not very confident that the divine is actually sympathetic towards you, is supporting you, or sometimes you might even question that the universe is not really benevolent, but rather the opposite, maybe like a vengeful slave driver, because, the Ace of Cups can only be reversed in one condition. If you have been a person full of kindness, gentleness, good intent, love, compassion, empathy, solidarity, and naturally, this ruled all your life, all your actions, all your choices, but instead of receiving the same back, you kind of received the opposite, where you might have been abandoned, forsaken, no human help, no divine help, no sympathy, no empathy, no one asks how you are, no one cares of how you're feeling, you're always the listener, you're always the advice giver, you're always the helper, and it is just like a one-sided relationship, always with everyone, everything, and you're actually feeling that maybe even with the divine, maybe this is some kind of really twisted game that the stars or the gods or the universe is playing with you. And this is where your shadow self is telling you, well, it's very simple how to stop all of this. The Ace of Cups reversed, as in stop pleasing people. If you put people, regardless of who they are, even if they're in a 10 million times more worse situation than you are, and they're truly victims of fate, well, you cannot place them above you. You can only place them on the same level as you, as an equality. Do for them, naturally, what you would do for yourself. But if you do much more for other people than what you do or you're willing or capable of doing for yourself, then your life can never truly be balanced. It can never really be positive, because all that you're showing to fate, to the universe, to every other living person is that you value others way more than you value yourself. So through this, you're inviting the very fabrics of reality to enslave you. And if this is your command, this is what's gonna happen. So the 7 of coins is very straightforward. If you don't have any harvest in your life, well then, can you actually, logically, rationally afford to sacrifice for other people? Shouldn't really you put your own situation and your own well-being first, and as the universe and every other source of help in your life, may that be spiritual help, material help, etc., to help you, heal you, make you grounded, stable, in a favorable position, and then there is no limit. Then you can share your well-being, your happiness, your compassion, your solidarity with everyone of your choosing, as long as you place them in an equal position and never ever above. Because maybe perhaps soulmates and people who you have an unbreakable soul level connection with, well, in their case it is acceptable to sometimes place them above you, because it is a soul connection basically. So it's almost like you guys are twins. But if you do it with anyone else, well then you're simply inviting the very fabrics of reality to turn you into a slave. And you have to stop this. As painful as it is, as guilty it will make you feel, as unnatural this feels for you, you need to stop putting yourself down. You need to stop squandering all of your greatness and light and all of your love on other people, regardless of who they are, because you can only help, you can only be there, you can only fill their cups with your cup, with the cup of your soul, the Ace of Cups, when yours is full and overflowing. So like it or not, your shadow self is waiting patiently until you awake from this pattern that you're following and finally start choosing doing the right thing, as in being there for yourself more passionately, more strongly than for other people, because as long as you squander your power and just give yourself away freely, nothing good can actually happen to you, and the universe cannot change its attitude to you because you're programming it into it. Well, thank you so much for listening. I do hope you enjoyed this different take on our usual pick a card readings. If you'd like to hear more messages being channeled from the shadow self, let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to include these kind of readings in the future. And of course, if you need a personal reading or any kind of shadow work, feel free to log on to our website 1millionnights.com, create a client account and choose from a vast number of advisors who would love nothing more than to help you and guide you. And we also have a 5% bonus whenever you buy one of our prepaid packages. Thank you again for your time and for listening. Until next time, bye for now.